we have over 2,000 industry placements. We have a key emphasis on employability to ensure that when you graduate, you have the greatest opportunity to enroll in a career.
Okay.
So just to touch on a few of the subjects, I briefly mentioned before about the biomed sciences and pharmacy optometry. So pharmacy and optometry are the two top ranked subjects in the UK. They are both integrated undergrad and postgrad courses. So you graduate with an M.Pharm or an M.Optom. So it's 4 years to get your undergrad, your bachelor's and your master's.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. And then a lot of Canadian students also enroll in our law programs and our physiotherapy programs. Physio is probably one of the most competitive courses we have, as there's only 5 places available for all international students around the world. Okay, so we have our 4 faculties, which is the arts, humanities, and social sciences. We have computing engineering and built environment, life and health science, and Ulster University's business school. And the business school is the 5th largest in the whole of the UK and the largest on the island of Ireland. So it offers everything that you can think of in terms of business programs, from accountancy, finance, to culinary arts, business studies in general, hospitality and international management and tourism. There's 3 highlighted there, and I have touched on them so far: optometry, pharmacy, and physio, purely because most of our Canadian students are studying on those 3 programs, just because of the process that it takes to be qualified in those industries. Canada, coming to the UK just offers an alternative option and can reduce study duration.
And whilst it is part of the UK, has its very own separate and distinct culture to the rest of the UK as well. Studying in Scotland offers great opportunities, and Scotland is recognised as having more world-class universities per head of population than just about anywhere else in the world. It's a really vibrant and multicultural place, and is really well known for its warm welcome. It is important to consider when you are considering your options. If you're looking at other institutions in the UK, Scotland has a slightly different degree structure, and it tends to be a year more than if you were studying a degree in Northern Ireland, England, or Wales. So our degree structure is very similar to that of the US, and that is because the US actually templated our degree structure and higher education system when they were implementing their own. So our degree structure is 4 years. It provides a kind of broad-based study where you often take outside subjects for the first couple of years, followed by specialist honours level study. So you can, again, like the US system, study a range of subjects in the first 2 years, and then the last couple of years really kind of focusing on your specialised area. And in Glasgow itself, so Glasgow is Scotland's largest city. It isn't the capital is Edinburgh, but Glasgow is Scotland's largest city, which is home to about 1 million people. It's a very student-centric city. I believe we have 5 universities within the city centre, within the city limits. So there's a lot going on for students, and there's a big student population here in the city. So, you know, it's a great place to be if you are a domestic student or international student, and it's a really great environment for students. Glasgow was voted the 8th best city in the world, as voted by Time Out magazine in 2019, and it's really well known for its warm welcome. It hosted the Commonwealth Games back in 2014, and the common phrase was that people make Glasgow, and that was because the tourists and visitors that came for the Commonwealth Games were so touched and felt so welcomed by the people of Glasgow, and that's something that the city has kind of taken on as its motto and has been really proud of ever since those Commonwealth Games 6 years ago, unbelievably. The cost of living for Glasgow for a major city within Europe is fairly reasonable, provides great value for money for students as well. and Glasgow.
Sorry, Scott. We have a slide about the accommodation and the living costs in Scotland, so we probably can go through that information a bit later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. That's fine. That was the only brief point I had on that part. Yes. Yeah. So if you just want to go onto the map of if you can go back to the previous slide, please. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So obviously this just gives you an idea of how centrally located GCU is. So GCU is a single site, self-contained campus right in the middle of Glasgow. So Glasgow itself is a very well-connected city to the rest of Scotland, and the university is very well connected within the city and very close to transport links. It's a walking distance from the main bus station, two major train stations, and the subway station, as well as the major motorway connecting Scotland's two main cities, Glasgow and Edinburgh. As I said, GCU is located right in the city centre, so students have the best of both worlds, where they have everything in the one campus on the one site, so they don't need to venture too far. However, if they do want to go and explore, or they need to get anything outside of the campus, then they are in the best place possible and within walking distance for pretty much everywhere. Our accommodation is located right next to the campus as well, and the campus has had a multi-million-pound investment into redeveloping it back in 2015. So the campus is very modern and high-tech facilities are now in place since that redevelopment. Next slide, please. Yes, yeah. So just want to give you a little bit of information on the makeup of the university. Currently, we have over 20,000 students worldwide from over 100 countries. So whilst we're a new and modern university, we have grown and established ourselves in a very short space of time, and we are a global university. We have very good student to faculty ratio of 11:1, which obviously shows our commitment to investing into our teaching facilities and ensuring that student experience is of the best quality possible. As I said, we've got other campuses. We've got other main campuses in London and New York, which are primarily postgraduate campuses, whereas our Glasgow campus is an undergraduate, postgraduate and research-based campus as well. We've got over 100 undergraduate programs across our three schools, which our three schools are the School of Business, the Glasgow School for Business and Society, our School of Health and Life Sciences, and our School of Computing, Engineering and Built Environment. Like Ulster, our kind of degrees are very kind of practical in the way that we teach, and we look to provide students the right skills, knowledge and expertise to enter the workplace as soon as they've graduated. And obviously this is exemplified by the fact that 95% of our students are employed or in further study within 6 months of graduating. We've got multiple top 10 UK ranked programs at undergraduate level, and this includes optometry, social work, hospitality, forensic science and podiatry, just to name a few. As I said, our programs are industry driven and accredited, so they're kept up to date, relevant. So like you said, you are ready to go into the workplace, and the skills that and knowledge that you do develop in the course, you can actually use when you enter the workplace as well. And lastly on this part, just want to say that usually our university motto is for the common good. So we'll refer to ourselves as university for the common good, and the common good kind of theme runs through everything that we do. So our mission is to make a kind of positive difference to the communities that we serve, and this is the heart of what we do, especially in our social innovation teaching and our research. And we were often asked, to explain this and what does this mean? And for us, it's just, we understand that students want to do well, they want to thrive, they want to be successful, and they want to be kind of financially rewarded for their hard work. But as a university, we support and we encourage this, but we always support and encourage our students and our staff and our to really kind of remember to give back to the communities that they have been in and been part of, and maybe haven't been as beneficial as themselves, and help others reach their goals as well. And sorry, go ahead.
Yes, Jayne. Let me just 1 second. I'm going to be unmuting you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. good afternoon, wherever you are, or good evening from London. So I'm from the University of Westminster. My name's Jane, and I also work supporting international students from Canada and all of the Americas who are coming to study with us and work alongside our representatives, such as Student Solutions, who work with us in Canada to help you if you'd like to come and join us. So the University of Westminster is in London. If you know London, then you may recognise this map, but otherwise this just shows where our campuses are, very similar to the other two institutions you've heard from today. We're in the city, we're very much part of the City of London. We were actually established to teach Londoners professional skills in the 1800s, and so that's really still what we do, and it reflects our teaching, our subject area cover as well, and then the fact of where we are around the city. So we're right in the heart. We've got 4 main buildings and 3 faculties. That's split into 3 faculties, and I'm going to go through those in a second. But you can maybe recognise some of the big landmarks there to get an idea. Greater London's obviously very big, a very big metropolitan area, but central London itself is actually really quite small. I think a lot of people are surprised by that when they think about studying in London, and the fact that it actually can be friendly. Isn't the most expensive city in the world. And it was also been voted the #1 student city in the world the past 2 years in a row by QS rankings, so by students themselves looking at cities, and that takes into account everything really when you're thinking about the student experience. So I think obviously nobody's done a ranking for 2020, it's been a very different year, but 18 and 19, who knows what 2021 has to hold for all of us, but we will see. So I think you can go ahead. Yeah, I'll just go through very quickly. So we also have a very strong professional focus, but maybe slightly different subject areas. We have 3 faculties, as I've mentioned. So one of them is digital and creative industries. And from Canada, we get quite a lot of applications for architecture, which is one of our very strong programs. Also within that, media practice. We're very well known for journalism and communications, a fantastic research centre for that. And we get quite a lot of applications as well for fashion and fashion design, which is another of our really strong programmes. Then we have a faculty of liberal arts and sciences. Within there is law, always popular for Canada for all students in all institutions. Also psychology sits within that, and then things across international relations, social sciences, politics. And then we have a faculty, the business school. We tend to get a lot of students for marketing and marketing related subjects, which we have a lot of professional recognitions for, but obviously a wide business school covering finance, business management, all those areas. So yeah, we're average size, I'd say, about 20,000 students again, but split along those 4 sites. So quite, yeah, fairly comparable for the UK. I think you can go on to the next slide. Right. And this was just a little bit about why London. So obviously, lots of reasons to look at the UK in general, and why you might want to study and travel to come and join us. But just focusing specifically on London, it's obviously really a lot of students choose Westminster because they want to enjoy the experience and they would like to enjoy London as well. And that's not just about the cultural and the social side of the theatres and galleries and everything that will hopefully be open again very soon, but it's also about the professional experience. You know, London still does have, it's the #1 tourist city. We are still one of the 4 places that people come to for the main fashion houses. If you're looking at film and TV, the BBC, which is down the road from us, is still the biggest broadcaster in the world. And anything across businesses, if you're looking at places where the European headquarters are, most multinational European headquarters or offices, you've got there from the 75% Fortune 500. So lots of reasons to think about London. And it, of course, the experience and the fun and enjoying the city. And then also for Westminster, we are one of the most diverse universities. We have more than 165 different nationalities, and we really reflect London. And what that means for you as a student is both gaining that experience and hopefully developing different perspectives in the classroom. Our staff is made up of teaching staff from all over the globe, and they also understand student students coming in from different educational backgrounds, possibly with different learning goals and desires from their programme. And also it's really welcoming. I think London's much friendlier than people often give it credit for. And most of our students, the things they say to me, they talk about their particular course and what they wanted to do, and then they really do talk about meeting peers and students from all over the world and really enjoying that experience and going on to benefit in the future for their professional networks of having all those contacts, as well as just the enjoyment of it. So that's a little bit about Westminster, and I'll hand you back over. I don't think there are any more slides from me.
Now back to Johnny now about the tuition fees and what Ulster has to offer for scholarships too.
Brilliant, thanks, Shasta. So yeah, one of the things I just want to cover here is the affordability of studying in the UK, especially if you're considering going overseas. Perhaps you were considering going to the US, but studying in the UK is generally a lot more affordable. And compared to some Canadian universities, it can be much more affordable as well. So for us, our tuition fees for undergrad and postgrad, for most postgrad programs, are £14,910 a year. And that is a 3-year undergrad, 1-year postgrad. Some of our postgrad courses have an extended research element to them, so they could be add an extra 3-month research or placement projects, and a couple of courses have an extra year. So those extra credits does add an additional fee, brings the fee up to around £19,500. So 20,000 even, yeah, it's got up a little bit. So yeah, we have a deposit of £2,000, and students were able to spread the costs over a 5-month instalment plan, just to help break down those costs a little bit. We are able to accept various Canadian government funding, such as OSAP, the OSAP, however you pronounce it, British Columbia funding, as well as other provincial funding bodies as well. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we do have the £2,000 scholarship, and that's off each year of study. So off your full degree, that does equate to £6,000 as a tuition fee reduction overall.
Excellent. Let me just go to...
So the thing I was actually referring to before as well was just in relation to the tuition fees. Living in Northern Ireland, particularly in Belfast, it has been assessed as the most affordable student destination in the UK. So the fees and the living costs do reflect its affordability. So just something to bear in mind, folks.
Right. Okay, this is for stock. Give me just a second. Unmute you. Yeah.
Thanks, yeah. So as you can see, our undergraduate cost to study per year is £12,250, and for a 1-year masters programme at either Glasgow, London, would be £13,500. These are our standard rates. We do have some programmes that are slightly higher than that, and obviously if interested in any of those, I can share those details with you later. Our 2 years masters programs that we have available for some of our London programs and some of our Glasgow-based programs in our business school would be at a slightly higher rate of £18,000 as well. Like Johnny had stated for Ulster, we also have a deposit required for international students, for students that would be required to apply for a student visa, and our deposit is £3,500, but that amount is obviously taken off your tuition fee, and then you would be left to pay the remaining amount, which you can split up and spread the cost with one of our instalment payment plans, which I think breaks it up into 8 separate payments throughout the year. So that payment plan is available for international students as well. Next slide, please. So our scholarships here, so these are the 2 listed there are automatic scholarships that applied for the national students coming to study at GCU for the first time. So for an undergraduate, you're offered £1,000 per year, so it's up to £4,000 over the 4 years. And for our master's programme, it would be 1,600 if you were doing a 1 year, and if you're doing a 2 year, you would get an additional £1,000 scholarship on top of that. We have a number of other kind of postgraduate scholarships in particular, and subject-specific scholarships that cover, you know, our fashion programs, climate justice, mechanical engineering, just to name a few. And in particular, we have our early payment discount, that if you pay tuition fees up front before the first day of teaching, then you get a 5% discount off your fees. And also we have a international loyalty discount that international students who have maybe come to GCU on an exchange, have maybe come to our summer school, would be offered a discount of up to £5,000 if they've studied with us previously as well. And that would apply if you had taken undergraduate and were looking to move to a master's degree as well.
Okay, so Jayne, I believe it's yours. Just going to be unmuting you as well. Yep.
If I may, similar. So our undergraduate programs 14,400 per year. Our masters vary, and it depends on the program. They vary between 12,000 and about 19,000 at the moment for the MBA. So you're looking around 12, 13,000 for most of them. A lot of the business courses around 14, 15,000 pounds. We ask for a deposit as well for students applying for visas when they've made a final decision that they'd like to join us, and that again is taken off the course fee. And so that's £4,000. And then we have option only really for 2 or 3 instalment plan payments, so fairly similar. And in terms of our scholarships, so our scholarship scheme is a little bit different. The information here is really just a guide. So actually our scholarship scheme is a separate application, so you have to apply for a course and receive an offer, and then you can apply for a scholarship with us. We have a range of scholarships. They are just about to be announced for September 21, and will be updated, but generally they range from partial scholarships, which equate to about £2,000 or £3,000 off your fee, up to a very small number of tuition fee, and then a very, very small number of full scholarships, which cover everything. Those are obviously highly competitive, and they look for financial need, development, so what's your plan for your studies in the future, as well as academic excellence. And the partial and half scholarships looking more for good students who are going to contribute to the university community and have good grades. And so if you want to find any more information about that, they're on our website. But as I say, you apply for the course, get an offer, and then do submit an application for a scholarship. And there's always a deadline to apply by May if you want to come in September, and also by an October date if you want to join any of our January start programs that we offer.
So I will get back on this thing about what additional things you guys require universities look into providing the scholarship to students. We have a slide about the admission process, so that will be a bit more helpful for students as well. If you guys later on highlight on what additional steps would be helpful in order to gain or apply for a scholarship too. So I'm gonna go with the last slide for Ulster. Charlie, give me a thing. Yeah.
Thanks, Yasser. Yeah, so as I mentioned before, we have our 4 campuses around Northern Ireland. So we have 2 city-based campuses and 2 rural self-contained campuses, but all 4 campuses have guaranteed accommodation for international students. So the only campus where you really have a bit of a distance to walk is our McGee campus, and it says up to 10 minutes there, but if you are taking 10 minutes to walk to class, you're going very slowly. So you really are living right on campus. One of the biggest differences between UK accommodation as residents compared to what you may be used to or have seen in North America is you would typically get your own bedroom. And most of our accommodation offers a bathroom within that bedroom as well. So an ensuite facility, a bit like a mini hotel room really. You've got your bed, your desk, your wardrobe with toilet, shower and sink facilities within there as well. Big focus for UK education is independence in terms of study, but also living. So we wouldn't typically do meal plans at Ulster. You would generally make meals for yourself. So you have a kitchen and communal area for you and typically up to around 7 other students. So you would cook your own meals within that kitchen, maybe have your breakfast. There's cafes, restaurants, bars, shops, everything all around the campus and in the cities. But generally it's more affordable to cook for yourself. But, you know, staying in that accommodation, brilliant way of making friends and getting to know other people. And you'll be with domestic students from Northern Ireland as well as potentially other international students too. I believe there's another slide there, Yasser, as well, just about the...
That's about it. I think this is the pictures of the accommodation.
Yeah, so that's the accommodation in the Belfast campus. So you can see top image is typically the bedroom, top right is the kitchen and lounge area, and the top left is what your ensuite facility would look like. Only downside to that is you've got to clean it all yourself. So something you have to learn to deal with. But there is a cinema in there, there's a gym. You can see another kitchen further down, and every Wednesday a chef from a restaurant comes and teaches you how to make different meals. So all about that independence and learning to cook for yourselves. So yeah, that's our accommodation, and it was built last year, so it's brand new. It's amazing.
Excellent. Over to you, Scott.
Thanks. So yeah, this is just a little breakdown for what students can come to expect in terms of living expenses when you study. It's probably on average for the UK as a whole, and for Glasgow in particular. Like the other institutions that are here tonight, we also have our own on-campus accommodation, and that is available from £99 a week. Can start from £99 a week, and is right across the road from campus, and is available for undergraduate and postgraduate students. We also have our accommodation team who can set you up with private housing providers and put you in contact with them. Again, we have a number of kind of private housing options right on kind of the doorstep of our campus, so it just gives you kind of a variety and different options in terms of kind of what experience you have and kind of what budget you have as well to spend. But as you can see, this is just a breakdown of what you can expect, and as I mentioned, Glasgow is one of the more affordable major cities within the UK and Europe as well. I wouldn't even, because the transport links are so great, so easy to get around the city as well, I would expect them not even to be quite as high as that. These costs, obviously, within these costs and within your ability to study, you can also work, and the student visa gives you the ability to work a certain amount of hours per week depending on your level of study, so you can offset these costs with part-time work and look to balance that along with your study where you can. We've got a centralised career service, plus each one of our schools has a career service as well, so they can provide you assistance in terms of looking for part-time work that may be unrelated to your degree or very related to your degree, and help you gain some work experience or paid work experience alongside your study, to supplement your study and obviously make it more affordable whilst you are studying.
Thank you, Scott. Jayne, it's your slide now. Thank you.
Just another option for our accommodation, really. We have halls of residence as well. There tend to be some on the campus, some maybe a 20-minute journey across London. Good way to make it more affordable. Prices are slightly higher, but you're looking at about £800 to £1,000 a month, really, for most of our accommodation. We encourage students, undergraduate students, to stay together so they meet people from different subject areas, because we've got those different campuses across the city. So it's a great way to meet. And then we have separate postgraduate accommodation as well. Yeah, thank you.
All right. So this slide is basically, I would like to highlight probably all of the universities to highlight on the documentations required for the application process, not just for the admission process, but also if there's additional stuff to be done for a scholarship, to make a separate application, or what things to be looked at in your personal statements or in a scholarship essays. So I will start with Johnny first, and we take them from there.
Brilliant. Yes, I mean, to be honest, you've got everything pretty much listed there. I would mostly say the key things that we make our decision on is your high school diploma, you're leaving qualifications on that for undergrad. But you're absolutely right with some of these things you've listed here, such as the portfolio and the interview. But the statement of purpose is absolutely one of the most important things that you really need to consider, especially for us. It can make a big difference between getting a place on the course and not. So take a look on the UCAS site. There's a guidance of how to write a personal statement for the UK, very different to what you may be used to in North America. It's straight to the point. If you apply through UCAS, 4,000 characters. So short, sweet, straight to the point.
So if I ask you a question in terms of personal statement, what really, one of the top programs of your school is pharmacy. What students should be looking really to add on those personal statements if they're applying to those popular programs?
I mean, to be honest, one of the most important things is accuracy, making sure what you're writing in your personal statement is accurate to the course you're applying for. However, if you're applying through UCAS, be cautious about adding other institution names, because if you're applying to UCAS, it could go to 5 institutions. So the last thing you want to do is apply to 5 universities and include one sole university. Could almost rule you out offers for those other institutions. So for something like pharmacy, it would be saying about why you want to study that, what part of that your high school education has inspired you to go into that further study of pharmacy. What part of chemistry is it that you enjoy, or maybe it's the biological side of those chemicals that help the body, perhaps. But also importantly is the career that you want to go into. I mean, pretty self-explanatory doing pharmacy, but how that degree could set you up for a career within the industry. You could also reflect on the complexity that it is to get into the industry in Canada. So yeah, it's just about being precise, not talking about what inspired you as a 2-year-old kind of thing. It really has to be about the education and your career.
Great. Scott, do you want to add something on this one?
Yeah, I mean, Johnny's has done a really great job of covering most of it there. I think from our side, it's just really important to kind of relate back to the topic and to the subject that you want to study, and make everything that you put in the personal statement relatable to the program that you are studying. Obviously, if you're applying for different programs through UCAS, I can understand that that's maybe not as straightforward, but if there's a pattern or a kind of similar subject area within the programs that you are applying for, then hopefully that should be achievable. And for us, it's just making sure that you don't just list things for the sake of listing things, listing achievements, just for the sake of listing achievements. Pick, a couple of specific examples and really hone in on them and really show how those relate to the subject that you're studying, how they relate to potentially university, and why those particular achievements would make you a good candidate or a good student for the institution, for that program of study.
Excellent. Jayne, I would like to invite you if anything you'd like to add. Before you go ahead, I would like to ask how important is the reference letter, and how many reference letters you're looking at undergrad level?
So for Westminster, we ask for 1. How important the reference is, that can depend on the course, to be completely honest, for Westminster, and it also probably depends a lot on your grades, because if you've got some students do really well in the subject they want to pursue at university but maybe haven't done quite so well in some other subject areas but have a strong reference, then that will really help support the application. If you've got fantastic grades across the board, a really good personal statement, then maybe we don't need to look at the reference as well, especially this year when a lot of classes are changing the grading or people are studying online. The reference can really help add a bit of background and about you as a student. So it can be important for us. We look at everything together. And I was just going to mention, in terms of all of the universities, and Student Solutions can help with this, have equivalency guidance for what we look for the different territories and provinces from Canada, and the grading and marking systems that we ask for. So we will have information about that on our website and pages. and can help guide you further in terms of specific grades. And then for us, on all our course pages, we have the standard requirements of the high school grades, the statement, the reference, and then if we ask for something more like a portfolio or an interview, or there's any other kind of test, it will state that on the course application page. So practical courses asking for portfolios, some courses asking for interview would always tell you there.
Excellent. I noticed a few of them did join a bit late, so I will just like to go to the first slide of my contact details, just in case if you have any questions regarding to applying to these schools in the UK, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us in one of the ways. Either you can contact us on the number or the email address, or simply you can link your UCAS application, because we are one of the UCAS register center in Canada. So the buzzword to use for 2021 application is SSES, which is Student Solution Educational Services 2021. We'll be able to help and guide you further on each of the documents which is required by the universities, and what programs you will be much more suitable for. By this, we are ending this presentation, but I'm going to go to the chat section and see if we have some questions. And we will then go accordingly to ask questions from one by one. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I'm just trying to see if we are going to be unmuting ourselves.
Should we all just leave our microphones on, saves you having to?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so let me just go through the questions and see how it goes from there. Okay, there's a question from one of the students mentioning, just checking, is this specifically for students in Canada? I am a US-based student looking for details on UK abroad studies. So do you guys cover study abroad studies for North American students, all three of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the region manager for the Americas, so I support students from Canada right down to Argentina and Chile. But if there happens to be people from other regions of the world, I also add an extra bit of support for South Asia and Africa. So yeah, happy to help for any region, really.
I think a lot of the information is the same, but obviously we have country guidance equivalencies for the US as well. And then if it's study abroad as in to come for a semester rather than a whole program, then I think we'll all have information about that as well.
Yeah, much the same. Yeah, obviously the information that we've discussed is relevant for students from all over the world. But yeah, we have different entry requirements for students from the US that are specific to the US education system, and those can be found on our website alongside the specific requirements for Canada. We do have a study abroad and exchange team here at GCU as well, and my colleagues are more than happy to speak with anybody that is interested in those opportunities and the exchange opportunities that we can offer here.
Excellent. I believe I can answer this question. It says, is there financing available from UK banks for international students? And I believe no, because they are more related to the UK residents. Right, guys, if I'm, if there is anything else you would like to add, is there any funding available from the local banks for international students as well in UK?
Not really, no.
I'm not aware of any, but in terms of banks and bank loans, that was the question, wasn't it? Because obviously there's a student loans, government student loans that are for the UK students. But I think we will accept Canadian loan financing.
Right. So it depends upon the provincial loans, of course, where they're applying from, whether they are from British Columbia or Alberta or Saskatchewan. They basically, the university has to be in the registered panel or the approved schools of the relevant province where they're applying for, so that once they go for the OSAF funding from Ontario or British Columbia student loan, for example, the individual university has to be part of the approved providers. So that's how basically works for Canadians who are applying for local provincial loans. But for sure that, as I said, like for international students, if you're looking for financing in the UK, then for sure, then it's a no, of course. And I think it's applicable for every international students, wherever they are basically applying to, either they're coming to Canada or Australia or UK, it's exactly the same. There's a question from Steven saying, what are the criteria for being awarded a scholarship?
For us, it's a guaranteed £2,000 scholarship for all international students. So basically, as long as you're not from the UK or Europe, you've already qualified for that.
For Westminster, as I said, it's a different scheme. So it depends on the amount you're applying for. Smaller scholarships just look at grades, plans. The bigger you apply for, if you're applying for a big scholarship, you have to demonstrate financial need, you're in competition with the whole world, and you have to show a development plan, what you will do with your studies. We want to see that students have a clear, logical career plan for how it will help them in the future.
Yeah, so we can have a mixture of what we have. Automatic scholarships, which I touched on during the presentation, both at undergraduate and postgraduate level. That if you are an international student come to study at GCU for the first time, then you'll automatically be offered those scholarships. If we also have additional scholarships that you can apply for that are potentially subject-based or level-based, we've got a student ambassadorship, which is a full tuition scholarship at postgraduate level, which has a separate application and would require you to show how you reflect the university's motto. We have fashion scholarships that you might need to submit a personal video and say why you should qualify for that scholarship. So depending on the subject area and the requirements of that specific scholarship, and what subject it's relating to, what school it's relating to, the separate application process for those would maybe differ depending on what the scholarship is. But in terms of the automatic ones, those come through automatically when you do apply.
Okay, this one is more specific for Johnny. For personal statement, let's say a student who is looking to go into a pharmacy program and they were president of Environment Club. Because it does not directly relate, should they not talk about their experience?
I wouldn't rule it out. I think it shows initiative to be involved. Being a president takes a lot of organization skills and planning, and that is something that we look for in all students, because all degrees take a lot of prep, take a lot of writing, take a lot of ability to adapt and support others. So yeah, I'd certainly say include it. It's certainly worth mentioning. I think what Scott mentioned was really important. Don't just list absolutely everything for the sake of it, but be specific. So something like that certainly could help strengthen a personal statement or statement of purpose.
I think there, I would like to add my point here. That is where we come into play as the professionals to guide you on personal statement. The reason being because UCAS limit you up to 47 lines, which is about 44,000 words in total, right? And you have to be very specific, like what to be included and what the universities will be looking at. So probably anything what you're writing, and it helps a lot for for students as well, that if they write something, as long as they can just have a, ask us to look into it, like what areas to be given more importance, for example, and then of course narrow it down according to what the requirement is for UCAS personal statement. So that really helps you as well, or the students as well, to really highlight, because if we do not know like what to be included or what is basically, I have come across with the students who have quite a bit of experience in something which is not related to the program, but they were such an exceptional, in terms of community work, for example. And that was very inspiring, because the universities always like to see students who basically can bring something to the school as well, in terms of, either it would be community experience or, any kind of experience that can help while they are basically in the class, for example. So I think if you have any questions about, what to be included and what would be the best idea, probably it's always a good shot to, probably send us some of the personal statement from your students, and we will be able to guide if that will be very helpful. And then of course we look from there.
Two main pieces of advice I would offer in terms of writing a personal statement. One would be, if you and a friend are looking at applying to the UK, don't write them together. And especially if you're applying to the same institution, they need to be unique to you. It could be much easier to write together coming up with ideas, but it really needs to be specific to yourself. The other one would be, don't be modest. This is about selling yourself for these courses. You need to be talking about how good you are and how good, why you did this and how amazing it was. And sometimes students downplay that. So pass it on to your mum and dad to read, pass it on to your brother, your sister, maybe some friends, because they might suggest something that you hadn't even thought to include, but it turns out it was a fantastic idea, something that was amazing that you've done throughout your life so far. So yeah, really consider the opinions of what other people think about you, because some people can be slightly modest about it.
Excellent. Jayne, can you highlight on this one, like for those in IB and Ontario secondary program, which grades should be submitted towards the application? Either the...
So if they're doing both, you mean? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yes. So really, you can include both, but there's no reason not to include what you're studying. And we do understand that people are following more than one syllabus, but that may mean the grades are not necessarily as high in both areas. So normally for high school, we look for about 70% for Ontario, but we've got guidance and listings on the Canada page for all of the different systems. And IB grades are also on our course pages. But if you're taking combination of both, then make sure you include that, and we will look at that and look at both together.
Excellent. Sorry, I'm just going through the questions which I just have to ask. Okay, I'm currently living in Canada, though originally born in England, and have a British citizenship. If I'm applying from Canada, would that still make me international student? I would say like start with Johnny, because I think Scotland might have a little bit different to say. I don't know.
Scott to answer, so go ahead.
I'm always reluctant to say kind of place my hat on one kind of certain fee status when somebody asks a fee status question, because there's a number of factors that it's our admissions team that reviews this, and whilst they will, when somebody normally applies, they put somebody in a certain category. If somebody doesn't feel like they should be in that category, they will give somebody the opportunity to appeal it, provide evidence and supporting statements to say why they should be in a different category. So I'm going to more or less sit on the fence and say potentially, but it would be up to our admissions team to decide, and take in a number of factors when they are deciding on somebody's fee status. For us, typically, you need to have been living in the UK or the EU for at least 3 years prior to the course start date. Take a look at Student Finance England, look at their guidance on that, because it'll be similar. But Scott's absolutely right. It can really vary, different circumstances. For us, typically, you'd be on international fees, but you don't need a visa if you've got your British passport. For us as well, Irish passports as well. I suppose for all EU as well. But there can be certain exceptions depending on your family's circumstances. So really submit your application, for us, especially as an international student, and then you can always be tuition fee assessed.
You can always ask to complete a fee assessment form, because it is very complicated, but it's normally 3 years where you've been living and working and paying taxes or studying for the past 3 years. And the UKISA website's really good for things like that. ukcisa.org has a lot of guidance information about how things like that are assessed in the UK.
Excellent. I think one question is again related to the scholarships, which you guys already have answered. So to make any scholarship application, either you will get a guaranteed scholarship from Ulster, which is £3,000 per year if you've been accepted, or you can also make a separate application depending upon the program you're going into, Glasgow Caledonian or Westminster. So depending upon individual universities where you're applying to, but yeah, it's a very it's kind of like a guaranteed scholarship thing. Like if you make an application, get an offer, or make a slide, or make separate application if you wanted to apply for higher ones. Just a quick question regarding to the current pandemic, guys. What do you think, like currently for January session, are you looking that it's going to be on-campus studies?
Ours is a hybrid mix, so some students are on campus for limited access. So for practical courses, we prioritise students to have access from February. Obviously, it all depends on the situation, and we're all following government guidance, but we are open. So many students are studying from home, studying online, but we are here if people want to travel and are able, and it's safe for them to travel, then they can come and join us in London. And it depends by course whether or not they have much teaching on site.
Yes, Scott.
Yeah, exactly the same. So we are taking a kind of blended learning approach with a mixture of face-to-face and online learning. Again, very much depending on the practical nature of the program will be dependent on the ratio of face-to-face to online. We are trying to give all of our students an element of face-to-face where possible and where practical, but still with keeping the majority of it online at the moment. Like Jayne said, it's really important to kind of stress and emphasise at the moment, because if it carries on the way it is, then we are going to carry on with that with this approach for trimester B in January. But it depends whether it gets worse or if it gets better. Hopefully it's going to get better and we can start to relax and start to implement more face to face. But again, we're at the hands of the government for each of our respective regions, and we need to kind of just follow the guidelines that are implemented by them.
Absolutely, same for us. Blended learning. Going to put it on myself, folks. So the same as Westminster Glasgow.
Right. So if in case there is no blended hybrid learning, I would say, or blended learning, I would say, so would the master's program still be online, Johnny, for January?
So some are and some are blended. So the hybrid version. The intentions are that as the semester goes on, we aim to have more and more face-to-face teaching. As Jayne mentioned, there are courses where it's crucial to the learning outcomes that there has to be face-to-face, in-person teaching, but that's done at a reduced capacity to take into student staff safety. So yeah, some courses are online, some courses such as our MBAs, some of those high volume lecture theatre style classes are being taught online. When you've got like a 300 size lecture theatre, we can't be housing that many students in those classes. So they have been significantly reduced by teaching online. The plan is, instead of that being one big class, it'll be broken down into multiple classes when we are bringing more face-to-face. But as Scott and Jayne said, we just have to monitor as things go. We're trying to plan for a year, but things are changing almost weekly.
Every now and then. Sure.
So full intention is to be back, resume normal teaching, normal student life. But do note that international students are still eligible to enroll on campus as long as guidelines say that you can travel from your country to the UK, and you can study online with the new policy during this COVID period. So you can still gain an experience, you can still go and travel around within reason. You just got to understand there is measures in place to protect everybody.
Excellent. So I don't see any more questions right now, but I would like to just ask you one last thing about what's your last tip for people who are applying for undergrad program in September next year?
Apply soon.
I was literally about to say the same thing. If you're applying through UCAS, the deadline is January the 15th. If you're applying for medicine, it's too late. It's typically mid-October that. So yeah, exactly what Jayne said, apply soon, get your applications in.
Right.
Yeah,
so okay.
I'll echo that. Yeah, just do your research. Obviously, invest time into your options and really consider the benefits of certain programs and certain institutions, and look at what institutions offer the best opportunities in each different in each different programs, and just do your research and make sure that you're fully prepared and you're fully knowledgeable before you submit an application for an undergraduate program, especially internationally. So and yeah, apply as soon as you can.
Just
And it's great. Sorry, it's great at the moment because there are lots of virtual open events, tutors doing taster sessions online. So it's a really good time to find out more and to get that access that you may not have had in previous years. So that's a bonus of us all being online. And a lot of universities do consider students after the UCAS deadline. I know Westminster does across many of our programmes, depends on the course, but the sooner you can submit, the better.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think, sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
I was just saying those dates that I mentioned, they're there for September 21 entry. If you're 16, 17, obviously there's still plenty of time for yourselves to apply.
And yeah, all I was going to say, obviously that would be the benefit for applying with our partner Student Solution, because obviously they're not bound by those restrictions, and we can accept direct applications from undergraduate students applying through Student Solution. So certainly if the UCAS deadlines don't fit for you or work for you, then certainly we can accept applications for certain programs direct from, if you're applying through Student Solutions after those deadlines as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. It's been almost an hour now. I don't want to keep engage everybody together. I know it's pretty late out there as well. But thank you very much. It's been a great learning from you guys from different part of UK. I mean, you can't have so much of information in 1 hour from Scotland, Northern Ireland, and from London, right there. But thanks a lot for your time and commitment. And thank you very much, people who have been attending this. If you have any questions, any concerns, please do feel free to contact to the email address I just tagged down. You're more than welcome to share your questions with us, and of course I will be able to get the right answers from the individual universities. Feel free to contact me, but thank you very much once again, and keep yourself safe. It's been a really challenging time for all of us. We are trying to do our best, but this is like the second wave coming up. We all just need to take necessary precautions and follow the government guidelines. That's what we can do the best. But thanks again, Jayne. Thanks, Scott, and thanks, Johnny, for your time. And it's been a pleasure.
Cheers, Yasser. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.